My name is Tierney. I'm here just to give you a few tips on what you should be doing during lockdown, how to make the best of your time, and try to give you some pointers on how to use that time effectively, I think. So you have time, and the best thing about being a writer in this situation is that you don't actually need much equipment. You don't actually need to go anywhere. I always say to writers that all you really need is a pen and paper. Of course, you have more than that. You have laptops and computers, etc. But essentially, the pen and paper is your best friend. So, use this time to start generating ideas. What kind of things do you want to write about? Really think and utilize this time and say to yourself, what are the things that I am interested in? Fashion, style, lifestyle, whatever you want to call it, is such a massive arena. Some of you may like specific things. Some of you might be interested in menswear or couture or the business of fashion. Sky's the limit, or the magazine world. There is unlimited material out there for you to source. So I think first of all, try and work out what kind of a writer you are and think about where you would actually like to place those pieces. Do you see yourself writing for magazines, for newspapers? Do you want to have a blog? Do you want to write online? Do you want to be somebody sitting at catwalk shows reviewing, or do you want to be more analytical, writing features? I mean, it might seem at this stage quite a lot to think about, but you do have a lot of time, which is the best thing. So really start thinking about who it is you want to be and where and what you want to write about. The best way I found is to look at other writers at this stage. When I was starting off, I don't think I was a particularly good writer, but what I did was I looked at writers that I admired. So I would find somebody whose work I liked, and then I would check out other work. What you can do now, of course, is just Google that person's name, the journalist that you're interested in, and you'll find all examples of their work. If you like somebody's writing style without plagiarizing, that style will effectively become your own. It's like a process of osmosis. It just seeps into your system. And hopefully, in a few weeks or months or years, however long it takes, normally shorter than that, you'll start producing work and writing sentences and coming up with phrases and creating a tone and style of your own, which you won't necessarily do unless you study other people's work. Reading is super important, not only for developing your style, but for generating ideas as well. If you're stuck on something to write about, I know many of us spend our days, evenings, spare time looking at Netflix and looking at TV. There's a lot of time to kill, isn't there? So Netflix, I think most people look at Netflix or Amazon or something, and they're watching series and documentaries. Rather than just watching something and talking to your partner afterwards or your flatmate saying, what do you think? Why don't you write a review? Everything you watch, try and review it. What was good about it? What didn't you like? What about the costume design? What about the set design? You may not think this is fashion journalism, but it is. Fashion journalism is like any other kind of journalism. It's about observation. So every time you watch something, every time you read a book, every time you look at a magazine, try and write down in a kind of critical, analytical way what it is you like about it. That is really, really good practice. Also, you have YouTube. 10 years ago, you wouldn't have been able to find a fashion show online to watch. Nowadays, the internet is groaning with catwalk material, backstage stuff, behind the scenes. Just digest as much of that as you can. And of course, on YouTube, there's a lot of really great fashion documentaries for you to watch that are completely free. Don't think because it wasn't made this year that it isn't worth watching. There's decades and decades of stuff out there for you to sort of look at and analyse. It's a huge world. There's a lot to investigate. So if anything, what I'm trying to say is just use your time by soaking up media that's already out there. And rather than just like Joe Public looking at it and then putting it down, your job is to take it one step further, is, like I say, to critically analyse, to write notes, okay? Also think about, like, in a few years' time, where would you want to be working as well? Do you want to work on a publication? Do you want to work for a website? Who is it that you want to work for? Don't just do this kind of scattershot, oh, I'll work anywhere for experience. That can be good, but I think it's more valuable to write a list of top 10 places that you could see yourself working at. And aim high. If you really want to work for Vogue, then make that the top of your list. It isn't impossible. So always keep that in mind. What you'll find with future employers, or when you go for any kind of interview, they will be asking you what your favourite magazines are, who your favourite journalist is, who's the editor of this Vogue, who looks after this publication. You should have that information at your fingertips. So guys, I hope that helps in some ways. My weeks, the last few weeks have been kind of strange. I'm in lockdown like everybody else. Luckily I have work. Like I say, for writers, we're lucky that we can work anywhere if we have our laptop. I do a lot of travel journalism as well as other types of journalism. Of course, that's all dead now. No one's travelling. So I've been writing interviews, different kinds of features in the meantime. I've just been working on an interview with an author who's written a book about Malcolm McLaren, who was Vivienne Westwood's design partner for many years and is a great and interesting cultural figure. So there's a new book about him that I have investigated, and I've had the mammoth task of having to interview several, well, up to about 6 or 7 people that knew Malcolm, and I've tried to kind of fit all their quotes into this very long feature. And for the first time, I have a new client in Spain, El País, which is a really big newspaper out there. It's the equivalent of The Guardian. And yeah, they've asked me to do this big feature, so I've really enjoyed doing that. I've just finished. It's always better when you've finished. I also have to review the book for The Eye, a British newspaper. And I'm also working on an interview with Ben Cobb. Ben, as you might know, is the new editor of Love magazine, another Condé Nast publication. Somebody that I've known for a long time. In fact, I invited him to Condé Nast a few years ago to do a kind of one-on-one interview with me in front of students. He was very popular. And Ben has kind of risen through the ranks now, and he's editor-in-chief at Love magazine. So I've just interviewed him for a new magazine called Cinema du Look, which is all about the interface between cinema and style. So he was talking to me about his favourite movies, actresses, costume designers. So that was really, really interesting. So I have the task of transcribing that interview this afternoon, which will definitely take most of my time up today. I hope this helps. Keep safe. Bye-bye.